Okay, today we're going to give you two for the price of one, as we have the 12th episode of Star Trek Discovery and the second episode of Star Trek Picard. We'll start with Discovery in just a moment. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and we're talking to you today about not only Picard but also Discovery. In Discovery, we had a tension-filled episode as they are starting to make inroads into getting to the 10C species. And they find out that 10C is communicating with them through a mathematical type of translation. It seems to be the only thing that they have in common at this point. And they figured out between the hydrocarbons that have different emotional states, they can combine it with a series of lights that indicate equations and puts everything in context where they are able to have fairly simple communication. The tension is created because Book and Tarka are still working on seeing if they can't destroy the DMA, and in doing so could really ruin things as it's going on. This is nothing new. This is what they've talked about through several episodes. But what we have here is we find that Reno has been able to get to Book and convince him that there is something wrong with Tarka and that he really does not expect everybody to get out alive in his plan. And Book starts to see the light on it, but apparently it's almost too late, and it leaves us in a cliffhanger near the end as to what's going to happen. It looks like that there once again is the beginning of an inroad with communication by Discovery, but then the beginning of a breakdown in it thanks to Tarka. So we're going to see where that goes from there. So that is pretty much Discovery. It is working out. This is episode 12. Episode 13 will be the last one, and we will see the resolution of this to see who gets there first, if the next season gets set up in this outside of the galaxy space, as where Discovery will be going into a whole bunch of the unknown, or if they get to return to their own galaxy and to Starfleet. That will be the unknowable part of this. The whole thing of whether everybody's going to die or not probably is not something that we should really concern ourselves with, but just where the show is going to go into the next season. And I think that probably they will be able to overcome the setbacks that Tarka did, but in fact, in him imprisoning Book, will kind of clear Book of all of this, is my supposition. And of course, the process by which they find Reno, and also that Zora, it becomes cognizant of what the plan was, comes at the cliffhanger point where it's almost too late. But even knowing all this, watching the show has a lot of good tension in it, and we start seeing some people questioning their roles. And this is throughout the characters here. And also just how you can have, with a team approach, problems solved, or at least partially solved. So a nice episode of better than average, actually, of Discovery this week. And Picard also has a certain tension in it because we knew that there was going to be a time travel effect to this. We already knew that there was going to be a federation that became a totalitarian dictatorship. But we got to look at who the dictator was. And as we are able to assemble our crew, we find that neither Picard nor Seven nor Girardi nor Rios had any idea what they'd gotten themselves into. They were on the verge of dying on the Stargazer and find themselves all in different places, but manage to get themselves together. Now, we find Raffi and Elnor were on the Excelsior, and despite the fact that nothing happened to that ship, they were thrown into this same alternate reality, which they find in the course of the show is not a mirror universe. It's not really an alternate reality. It is just a event that happened in time in 2024 that is causing this whole change of their present. And so as they make plans to go back to that time using the slingshot around the sun effect and needing quite a process in order to do this in the La Serena, it turns out that it almost isn't going to happen as we get to the cliffhanger at the end of this episode. Now, there are a couple of things that I find kind of interesting. They talk about chronotonic radiation, which is caused by the slingshot effect. This is the first time that they've talked about this, although they've talked about chronoton particles in First Contact. This is a much more unrefined way of time travel, according to Picard, although they mention Kirk in the episode having done it several times with the Enterprise. We find our new world that they go into, not the Federation, but a confederation. And we know that Picard is a general who is a slaughtering general. In his chateau, we find the heads of a number of people who he's conquered, including Gul Dukat, who also caused Picard to have his synthetic body, Murkot, a Klingon, Sarek of Vulcan, and others. We find Rios is a colonel, that Agnes is working in a lab in the capital. Picard is about to be awarded as the Borg Slayer, and that's where we have all of our characters at the point. Now, there are a couple of very good lines in here where Agnes talks about she's having to make up something as she goes along, trying to have Seven and Picard and Elnor in the same room, and Raffi, and explaining it away to the authorities at that time was some very good thinking on her feet. We see her as kind of scatterbrained through most of last season, but this time, despite the fact that she's still kind of emotionally all over the place, she does come up with a very viable story to excuse what she's doing. Also, in calling Seven of Nine not by her given name of Annika, it's questioned, and she explains it out as they were old college buddies, and Seven meant part of what they used to call her, Annika Seven Shots. So that was kind of clever too. And then, of course, there's some problem between her and Rios, and they're in the midst of an argument while in the middle of a very delicate operation, and she says, "I would hang up on you if it wouldn't get us all killed." So some good lines here, some good acting, a good scenario put up, and we learn a little bit more about Q. Apparently, he's not doing as well as he was the last we saw him. You've seen in the preview where he first appears to Picard as his old self, a deep fake of his younger self, and then as a quip, he becomes Picard's age. This was shown in the the end of the last episode. So what we have here is something going on, something wrong, although we don't know what is wrong with Q. We think that it could be something related to age. It's possible that while his race is rather long-lived and in a different kind of astral plane than humanity, there is a limit to their lifespans and what they can do. So we're still kind of on the fence as to whether this anomaly, this time problem, was caused by Q or is a matter of him trying to help out of it. He has allowed them to find their crewmates and also a helper they know that they're going to have in 2024 Los Angeles. I suspect that's going to be Guinan, seeing that her bar was in Los Angeles in present day. It's quite possible that that's where they're trying to go back to. We'll see how long it takes them to make that time jump. It may not be as easy as they or as we would have thought. So I'd like to see what you think about this. Please leave it in the comments. I will be out for a couple of days, but we'll start answering your posts in a couple of days. So I hope that you'll bear with me on that. I'll explain to you what that was about in the next video. Please, in the meantime, if you have not yet become a subscriber, please do so and ring the bell. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps the channel. So we'd like to add you on as a subscriber if you're not already subscribing. And we look forward to have a conversation with you, so why not leave some comments below. And until next time, don't go far.